Now it is? Okay. So I just want to let you know it feels so good to be back with our event. We thank you. We were absent for 2 years because of the pandemic, but now we're back in full force and strong, and we're here to celebrate the 2023 Black History Month event. So thank you all. Um, First, I would like to welcome you all for coming and sharing this event with us. We have a very exciting program for you. We have Mr. Um, Eric Smith. He's a genealogist and an author. He is our guest speaker for the day. We also have a storyteller. Her name is Chastity Gunn, and she's a poet laureate, thank you, of Elgin. Okay, and she will be performing. And we have some dignitaries stopping by, so we look forward to seeing them. And we have some gifts to present at the end of the program. So just FYI, the bathrooms are through the door, double doors there to your left, and then the first hallway, make a left, and they're there. Okay? Hopefully everyone was able to enjoy the food that we have out there. Okay, I ate some of it, very good. I'm gonna eat some more. So make sure you eat a lot of it because I don't want to have to take all the stuff home for me. Okay, let's see. I think we're going to start off with our, oh, first, before I do that, I want to introduce the Sister Cities International Committee. Okay, as I said, I am Pamela, the chair. We have our member trustee Porter. He's a village trustee, which is standing right next to me. And his name is Herb, trustee Porter. We also have our member Darius Robinson. He chaired this committee for the program, so thank you, Darius, for doing an awesome job. We have members that are not in attendance with us. We have Frank Granacqua. He is attending a event in Cape Coast, South Africa. So Cape Town. We're sorry about that. Cape Town, South Africa. Okay. And we also have our member Jessica Ramirez, and she is out on maternity leave. Do we know if she had the baby yet?
I don't know. I think she did.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful. Okay. We have a new member, Gurmeet Sai. He's not in attendance with us today. We have our trustee liaison, Jim Kemper. Thank you. And we have our staff liaison, Catherine Perez, and she's out front. Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Herb, Trustee Herb, and he will do the acknowledgments.
Thank you, Pamela. Let's give another hand to our chairperson, Ms. Pamela Fowler, for all the hard work that you did. I just want to reiterate, we mentioned Catherine Perez, who is our staff liaison. This wouldn't have happened without the tremendous work that Catherine puts in. We have a very small staff. She's it for doing all of the printing and some of the design work and the coordination. So Catherine, I know you're out there and you don't like to come in and show your face, but could you step around the corner for just a minute, Catherine, so everyone can see? I know you can hear me.
She's not there?
Yeah. Is she there or no? Oh, she's not there. Okay. yeah, she knew this was going to happen, so she's hiding from me. But the great work that she does makes this all possible with the help of the other members of the committee. But I just want to give her that special acknowledgement. We're always pleased and honored when you come out to this event. It means so much to us because we know that there are many places and many other locations and many other venues that are honoring Black History Month on this day. And the fact that you came and chose to spend this with us, we are really grateful for your attendance. So thank you so much. Give yourselves a hand for coming out. And anyone that knew that it was supposed to snow overnight, just raise your hand because I had no idea. I don't know where that snow came from. Because I was looking at, oh, it's going to be perfect weather. You know, it's going to be nice and dry and everyone will come out. And I woke up this morning and there was snow on the ground and I was like, doggone it, where did that come from? So, but we're glad that you made it out. We have some individuals here that I do want to recognize. First of all, from our Board of Trustees, you've already been introduced to Trustee Jim Kemper, our longest serving member on the Board of Trustees. Could you just give Jim another hand? Sitting next to Jim is the esteemed Bob Prigge, who is also one of our board members. Bob. And we're also honored, and you're going to hear from him in just a few minutes, but just want to acknowledge our mayor, Rodney Craig, who's here. Thank you, sir, for all your support. These events happen because we have tremendous support from not only the board and not only the staff, but also from the mayor's office, who has always been very instrumental in encouraging us to have this event. He's been behind us every step of the way, and every time that we do it, we're just really honored, sir, for your encouragement and for your backing. So thank you so much. We have some elected officials that are here today. First of all, I want to start off with my queen, Miss Eva Porter, who is a U46 school board member. Eva. We also have our state representative who always has the back of Hanover Park. We can always count on her to advocate for issues and matters that are important to the village, and we are so appreciative of that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Michelle Mussman. And from our Hanover Park Schomburg Library, we have Ms. Gail. Gail, would you please? Yeah. Thank you so much. Our libraries are so important to us and what we do. They're our connection to the community, and we're just really pleased to have them here with us to do that. We also have our police chief, who's here, Andrew Johnson. We have a tremendous relationship with our police department. They do a fantastic job in protecting and serving. They really do live up to that ideal here in our community, and we're really blessed to have a fantastic first-rate police department here in town. Are there any other elected officials that we're expecting a few others. I know that Congressman Raja Christian Murphy is coming. He's on his way, and our Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison is at another event. He's also on his way, so they will be joining us. But like I said, there's so many events going on today and so many calls for their attention and their participation. We're just honored that they chose to spend some time here with us to do that. At this time, I'd like to call up our mayor, Mayor Craig, who's going to read the Black History Month proclamation. Mayor Craig.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, Herb. We are certainly blessed. Can you all hear me okay? I'm usually too loud anyway. We are blessed in so many ways, but I'd also like to acknowledge, if I may, a little story, a little backstory. We have with us today Mary Ann Bilski. Mary Ann, wave your hand around. Mary Ann happened to be down at I think it was an IML luncheon or something, where different communities were being acknowledged many years ago. She was in line trying to create a sister city. She ran into Frank Grant Aqua, along with Sonia and my wife. I think you were all there. And Frank says, "You're looking for a sister city. Why not Cape Coast?" And he was very enthused. And Mary Ann, it's so nice to have you with us today. She has retired many years ago, more than we'll talk about. But it was nice of you to come today, and it's an honor to acknowledge that little story that kicked off our sister city.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yes, special place in my heart. As a matter of fact, we took a picture out in the hall, and I sent it to my family, and my son types back, "Mrs. B." And they thought that was pretty exciting. So anyway, I do have a proclamation to read. I'm excited that Hanover Park is probably the most diverse board in Northeast Illinois, and I'm honored to that. I believe there's room at the table for everyone, and our decision-making process is better because we have all aspects, all visions, all belief systems making decisions together. They're not always easy. Sometimes they're rambunctious, but the outcome is in the best interest of the people of our community. So I'm pleased to read this proclamation. Whereas much of Hanover Park's honor, strength, and stature can be attributed to the diversity of cultures and traditions that are celebrated by the residents of this great village. Whereas African Americans have played significant roles in the history of this nation's economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development while working tirelessly to maintain and promote their culture and history. Whereas as a result of their determination, hard work, intelligence, and perseverance, African Americans have made able and lasting contributions to our community, achieving exceptional successes in all aspects of society, including business. Who put this in there? All right. Education, politics, science, and the arts. Eva, I couldn't mess up education. That's been your forthright. Whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of Black African Americans' history throughout our American experience, which goes back thousands of years and including some of the greatest, most advanced and innovative society in our history that we can all draw inspiration from. And whereas Black African American History Month is time for all Americans to remember the stories, teachings of those who helped build our nation and took a stance against prejudice to build lives of dignity and opportunity. Advance this cause of civil rights and strengthening families and communities. And therefore, whereas during Black African American History Month, all Americans are encouraged to reflect upon past successes and challenges of African Americans and look to the future to continue to improve society so that we may live up to the ideals of freedom, equity, and justice. Now therefore I, Rodney S. Craig, Mayor in the village of Hanover Park, Illinois, do hereby proclaim February 23rd, 2023 to be Black History Month in the village of Hanover Park, Illinois, and encourage all residents to join us in honoring the many contributions made by African Americans by attending Black History Month presentation hosted by the Sister Cities on this day, Saturday, February 25th, 2023 at 12 noon in room 214 in the Hanover Park Municipal Center. Dated today. What do you think? I signed it this morning. Thank you. So it's quite an honor. You're going to be burdened with my story. Is that okay, Herb?
Okay.
Excuse me. So over the years, I'm sorry, having grown up in the 60s and a remembrance of the lives of the Kennedys, Martin Luther King, all aspiring to lead the way, marching the way to begin what we call I call everyone at the table, the beginnings of hopes and prayers for the future. Martin Luther King's hopes and prayers for the future have begun to change many lives. And a little backstory here. I'm in Ann Fox School 2 weeks ago on a Monday morning, and the teacher says, "Mayor, can you give some thoughts on Black History Month?" I said, "Oh, I haven't had my coffee yet, you know?" And she said, "Oh, I know, you'll come up with something." So then the principal walked into the room, and this is, class is starting, and in Fox School, when I go on a Monday morning, the principal and I do the Pledge of Allegiance. We do the Kids at Hope Pledge, where all children are capable of success, no exceptions, no exceptions. So they do the Kids at Hope Pledge. We do the Pledge of Allegiance. And 2 children from 6th grade, with their coach, teacher, mentor, came in and spoke to the values of Martin Luther King. There'll be food on the table for everyone. I think we all know what that is. And they then left. And they said, the teacher looks at me and said, "Do you have anything to say?" And I was thinking, yeah, we went through the 60s together. We've been trying and building relationships. I told the children, look around the room. Do you see different cultures in your room? Do you see folks from everywhere? Yeah. My board reflects folks from everywhere. We have taken that wish and that dream, and we've integrated that in many of our societies. In Hanover Park, we've integrated that into our hometown. And what's our challenge, I said? What's our challenge to the teachers, to the future? And they all look around. Wow, we're on a pathway here. We're on a pathway to make a difference. My comment to them was, our pathway is to continue the work. We're not dreaming today. We are integrating, we are opening our cultures to come together to be intentional about our decision making, to be inclusive, to make decisions where equity, I'm stuck on a word, where equity is a key component of the success, not only of our classroom, our boardrooms, our communities, but of the United States of America. That's my belief, and I espouse that on a regular basis. So I want to thank Pamela. I want to thank you. I want to thank Mary Ann Bilski. I gave you a little backstory there. It's so nice to see you today. Herb, I have to apologize because I have another meeting. I thought I'd be able to hang around a little longer, but I wanted to kick this off, read my proclamation, and honor the work of this committee. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Craig. We appreciate that. Okay, there's a couple of things. I want to make one acknowledgement to one of my most important persons in my entire life, always, and this is my daughter, Trina Whiteside. Please stand, Trina. She's here visiting with us. And then I would like one of my coworkers, Miss Rocky, to stand. Thank you so much. And you and your husband, we appreciate your appearance. Guys, I need to mention that we have the DuPage County NAACP Health Committee here, and they're in the corner over to our left here, and they're doing blood pressure. Hi, there you go, Miss Margaret. Everyone, yeah. Margaret, Childress. Thank you so much for being here. They will be doing screenings back there, so if anyone is interested. And they also have a drawing going on, so if you visit the table, you'll learn more about the drawing. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you. All right, at this time, we will do the Black National Anthem. If everyone will join in and help us sing, it's on the back of your program. And Herb is going to start us off.
Yeah, before we start, I just wanted to give a little background on the song. It's often referred to as the Black National Anthem, and it was a hymn that was written by James Weldon Johnson in 1900. His brother, John Rosamond Johnson, composed the music and for the lyrics. A choir of 500 school children at the segregated Stanton School, where James Weldon Johnson was principal, first performed the song in public in Jacksonville, Florida, to celebrate President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Now, at the turn of the 20th century, Johnson's lyrics eloquently captured the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of Black Americans. Set against the religious invocation of God and the promise of freedom, the song was later adopted by the NAACP and was prominently used as a rallying cry during the civil rights movements of the 1950s and 60s. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will all join us in singing, lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening stars. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. A song full of the hope that the darkness has brought us. Sing a song full of the hope that the presence has brought us. Facing the rising sun
of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. The road we trod,
bitter the chastening
rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Had not our weeping, had not our weary feet
come to the place
for which our fathers died.
come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come, treading our path through the blood of the slaughters.
Out from the gloomy
stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy head, may we forever stand. True our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now I think we're going to, you can acknowledge your daughter? Mr. Herb? Your daughter just walked in. You want to acknowledge her? Your daughter just walked in. You want to acknowledge her now? Okay, go ahead. You do that.
We'll be having different individuals stopping in throughout the day. This is Black History Month, and we just want to honor someone who is truly living Black history. We have Judge Chantel Porter, who has joined us today. Judge, would you please stand? And could you just come up? We just want to give you an opportunity to say hello. Chantel is the first African-American judge on the DuPage Circuit Court. So we have living Black history here with us today.
Well, thank you. That was very sweet. Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me. As Trustee Porter said, I just got appointed as a circuit court judge in DuPage County in December to fill a vacancy on the circuit court. I am born and raised in Hanover Park for a very long time. But it's so great to see this village just really kind of come together and grow from living here as a little girl and seeing the diversity of this town, and that just really being embraced by the village, and us having these great events such as this where we're all coming together to celebrate. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this event, so thank you.
Thank you, thank you. That's my oldest, and we're very proud of what she's accomplished and know that she's not done yet. So there'll be a place for her on that Supreme Court. That's what we're saying, you know, in the years to come. We also have the honor of having our Cook County Commissioner, the esteemed Kevin Morrison. Kevin, would you please stand and come forward just and give us your... Yes, sir. Good-looking man. You got to come around and let everybody see you, sir.
Hey, I'm not as well dressed as you. Good to see you, Trustee. Good to see you as well. Well, it is just an honor to be with you here celebrating, and it is incredible to have Judge Porter with us. I love that, living Black history in this room. Honestly, I'm just honored to be in your presence today, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
I'll take you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that does our acknowledgments. You want to give our introduction? We're time for, is this?
Yes, that's mine.
Okay.
So at this time, we're going to ask Darius Robinson to come and introduce our guest speaker today.
Good afternoon. I am Darius Robinson, a member of the Sister Cities Committee, and I'm going to give you some background about our speaker, Eric A. Smith. Eric A. Smith is a lecturer, teacher, author, historian, and television talk show host. He received his bachelor's degree in political science from the University of California, Berkeley, and Master's of Arts degree in history from Chicago State University. Eric is also a member of Phi Alpha Theta National Honor Society and has served as past president of the Afro-American Genealogical and Historical Society of Chicago. Eric has published articles in the Afro-American Genealogical and Historical Society of Chicago Newsletter and the Iowa Genealogical Journal, Hawkeye Heritage, and other various publications. His book, Oak Hill, A Portrait of Black Life in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 1920 to 1950, appeared in September 2000 September 2006. Eric's work has also appeared on websites such as Jefferson's Blood and been utilized by the PBS series Frontline. He has been a consultant and contributor to Iowa Public Television's documentary Searching for Buxton. Most recently, Eric has been a contributor to Professor Henry Louis Gates' PBS series Roots, concerning of the genealogy of Gayle King. Eric has also appeared on local Chicago affiliate ABC News, interviewed by Janet Davies, and Fox 32 News by Wanda Wells about genealogy. Eric has given educational presentations on history and genealogy in numerous venues, including the Chicago Public Schools, the University of Chicago Laboratory Schools, the University of Chicago State University, and the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society National Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah in October 2006, and other national conferences over the past years. Eric is currently working on his most recent book, A Journey of 1,000 Sorrows and the Notion of Indianness, Discovering My Ancestors Among the Seashore Tribes of Southern New England, soon to be released in the fall of 2023. Could you all join me in welcoming Eric A. Smith to the podium?
Everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Thanks for having me here. This is quite an honor for me to be here. First off, before we start, I want to get a few announcements out the way. I just retired from teaching this year, so I'm used to walking the room. So I'm going to be walking the room and presenting at the same time. Okay, so first thing about my book. Oh, I forgot I got that click. I can't get used to that. Okay. I don't even have to do that anymore. Okay. Oak Hill, the book that you see on the right, was my first book that was published in 2006. It's about the black community in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My father was born in Cedar Rapids. Most black people who came to Cedar Rapids during this time was for jobs, like most migrations. They worked in the meatpacking houses. In Oak Hill, that was the place where black people were segregated to they had a large Czechoslovakian population and a Mexican population, so they all lived together on Oak Hill. Journey of 1,000 Sorrows is the book that I'm working on now, and part of this presentation is based on that. My ancestors go back to New England. They were Nahantic, Narragansett, and Montauk. I'll talk about that in a second in the first slide. But in this presentation, I'm going to, first of all, how many of you guys have researched their family? Okay, with success? Okay, so this presentation is going to have some techniques that we use in genealogical research and how to trace our family, and a lot of the history of this country. Everybody in this room has a story, everybody. They also have at least one migration pattern. Anybody in this room? I got 3. Okay, you could be your maternal side, your maternal side, or like in my case, I have the immigrant migration story also, so I have 3 of them. So let's go on to the next slide. Where? Oh yeah, I got it. I can't keep up with this thing. Okay. When I say to you, I want everybody in the room, first thing that comes to your mind, just say it. Well, one at a time. Civil rights. Okay. You're smart. Again, civil rights. Movement. Anybody else? Civil rights. First thing that comes to your mind. What are you thinking? Nonviolence. Good. Very good. Anybody else? Mayor Rustin. Pardon me? Mayor Rustin. What's that? You got me on that one.
Oh, come on. He planned the March on Washington. He's the one who got Martin Luther King to have a nonviolent movement. He was also LGBTQ. brought in Martin Luther King because he was his right-hand man to try to say that.
Yeah, that one got by me, okay? You got me on that one. Huh? Well, John Lewis, okay. Anybody else? Okay, NAACP. Okay. Rosa Parks. So you guys are describing the modern civil rights movement. Okay, what I'm going to show you today is my family, the Jeffrey family, who were in the early civil rights movements in Connecticut. I'm going to be starting from 1820. Okay, the role that my family played in the movement. Part of the problem was the struggle. Every day for them was the struggle to survive. So they had no choice but to do something to free themselves. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, before that, when I started this journey 25 years ago, I asked my grandmother, I said, what can you tell me about your family? She said, my mother was a German, my father was half Indian, half black, and he was a liquorhead. Okay, I said, is that all you can tell me? She said, yeah, that's all I can tell me. So that's what got me started 25 years ago. It was the lack of knowledge. And this is what you're going to see, part of it, of what I unearthed doing my research in all these years. So this part, my history, I'm going to start, like I said, around 1820, but it goes beyond, further back than that. My original ancestors were Native American, which it says in the first one. The Jeffrey family were of African and Native American descent. They were members of the Montauk of Long Island, New York, the Nahantic of Connecticut, and the Narragansett of Rhode Island. All right, my first ancestor, recorded ancestor was a sachem of the Montauk tribe. A sachem is the same thing we talk about in this part of the country as a chief. His name was Wyandotte. So he was there when the English first came. All right. So secondly, the Jeffrey and the Beeman family members intermarried. Both families were active in the abolitionist and the anti-slavery movement. George Jeffrey, my other ancestor, was active in the civil rights movement in the passing of a state legislature to stop the discrimination of premiums to colored people, or people of color. This picture you see on the right, that woman standing there is my second great-grandmother, Elizabeth Cam Jeffrey. The little guy sitting up there is my great-grandfather, Frank Jeffrey, and that's one of his siblings sitting down. Now, in genealogical research, if you look at them, one of the things when we get old pictures like this, we kind of have to figure out what was going on. So to be a genealogist, you have to be part historian, part demographer, part detective in order to put all this stuff together. Now, I'm going to put a question to the class. Look, judging on the way she's dressed, what stands out in your mind about the way she's dressed? 1800s. Okay, but where in the 1800s? Well, okay, that's a good one. Anybody else? Okay. I know for a fact my great-grandfather, Frank, that's sitting up there, he was born in 1858 in Ontonagon, Michigan on the UP. So if he was born in 1858, judging by his age, what time period do you think this was taken? No, he was born in 1858. What? I heard it. Somebody said, what? Very good. A student, 1860s. All right. The other clue that I knew, by the 1860s, the family was living in Winona, Minnesota at that time. So judging by this picture, I know by Frank's age, it was the 1860s, like you said, and I knew for a fact that they were living in Winona, Minnesota. Okay. In 1839, the Fugitive Slave Act was passed. By that time, slavery was still in the economy of Connecticut. Free blacks were subject to arrest and fine without traveling without a pass. This document that you see on the right is a document that deals with this petition. Several of my family members signed this petition, the Jeffreys. Okay, you can see Harry Freedman, he actually married one of the sisters of the Jeffrey family. Asa Jeffrey, the first Jeffrey you see, is my third great-grandfather, all right? Moving down, you see Josiah Jeffrey. That was his son. Below that, you see Asa Jeffrey Jr., which was his son also. And on the bottom, the third son, George W. Jeffrey. So from this point, you see they were active in the civil rights movement because of the fact that they had no other choice. In Connecticut, you had the right to own property if you were black and also get to an education, but you did not have the right to franchise. And that's what they were going for later on, which you'll see. Okay, the Middletown 1839 rejected bill, the right of color to franchise. Henry Freedman, which is a family member, he married a Jeffrey girl. And other colored males, inhabitants, possessed property and paid taxes and served in the Revolutionary War and should not be taxation without representation. Our properties and characters we value, and our homes and our wives and children are as dear to us, yours are to you. That was signed by my ancestor, George W. Jeffrey, who you saw on the previous page. Oh, by the way, if you guys got any questions, just stop me at any time. All right. The Emancipation Proclamation was when? The Emancipation Proclamation was when?
Was presented in 1863.
Okay. Before that, there were proclamation passed way before that in certain states like Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. What you see here is the Gradual Emancipation Act of 1784 in the state of Connecticut, where my people are from. Okay, all slaves born on or March 1st, 1784, while children remained in bondage until they reached the age of 25. All slaves born before 1784 remained slaves for life. All right, so let's look at the chart. 1790, there were 2,700 slaves. Okay, by 1774, there was an uptick in slaves. 1775, it started to decrease, and from that point on, until we get to 1850, there were 0 slaves in the state of Connecticut. Okay, these are the federal census records. Now, how many people here have seen the federal census records? I know, yeah, you guys have. Okay, this one starts in Middletown in 1820. All right, let me see. I might have to go up here and do this one. I have to do it from here for this one, because I want to enlarge this for you so you can see it. Okay, this is 1820 in Middletown, Connecticut. Now you look at the categories. You see there are 3 categories. You see free white males, free white females, slaves, and then on the far corner you see people of color, free colored. How they did it was they divided by age. So if you look underneath that first column to the far left, it was the number of people listed in the family from, I think, 0 to 10 years old. So it went chronologically in age as you digressed up, increased. Now, from here, where is it? See, these records are kind of old, and some of them are really good to read, and some that you have a hard time reading it. Let me get it to enlarge. Okay, there you go. All right, there you see my ancestor at the bottom, Asa Jeffrey. His name is right there. This is, again, on the 1820 census. Right there in the left-hand corner, you should be able to see Asa Jeffrey. You see his name there? Okay, so remember how this is set up. So we're going to follow it across, and it'll list the people that were in the family at that time in 1820. These people were listed in the free colored section of the census. Just remember that was. Okay, that line right there, the three, those are the family members that were listed in 1820 on the federal census record. (1830) was more of the same. The format didn't change. The government kept the same format for the 1830 census. On this census, you can see Asa on the second line. All right, you see the second line, Asa Jeffrey? Okay, so that's my family. And again, if you go across, keep a mental picture where that's at, you can see where they're listed. Okay. Now, moving on to 1840. 1840, the federal government kept the same format. Nothing changed, the same format. But here's something that's different. I want to see if you guys can pick this up, you genealogists out there. Okay, line number 3. All right, line number 3, you see Betsy Jeffrey, right? But who you don't see? Who's not there? Who's not there? Ace is not there. Ace is not there, so you got Betsy listed as the head of household. Now, here's a question for you genealogists. Okay, you say, well, wow, Asa was there 1830, he was there 1820. What happened to Asa in 1840? So what do you guys think? Any suggestions? Well, he died or he's in jail. What else? That's capped. Well, no, these are free blacks. Yeah, keep in mind, these are not slaves. These are free blacks. Slaves were not counted as part of the federal census record. And I'll get to that later on. Okay. What? Military? No. What happened was he died. So that's why Betsy was head of the household. Later on in research, you may find out the date that he died. It takes time. I found out later on he died in 1840, 45 or something like that. Okay. Okay, now, but this is the 1850 census right here. Now, the federal government got a little bit more sophisticated on what they were asking. Okay, now you got the name of the family, okay? If we go to the right, you'll see there's the age category now, which was the same. It has the sex, male or female, and it has the color. Now, the federal government, during this time, only classified race in 3 classifications. You were either put down as white, mulatto, or black. Those were the only 3 classifications. If you look on that far, I'll show you guys. So you see what I'm talking about. And this is another indicator. This line right, this thing. Okay, I ain't using that no more. Okay, if you notice for race, on this sentence, on this slide, on this census, you can see starting at the top, you see like hash marks, right? When you get down, you'll begin to see a B. You see there's B, down there's a B, then there's a bunch of M for mulatto, then on down, then all the way down some more hash marks and B. And the rest of them are all white. That's how you can tell who's living there. But what they did on the federal census records on all of them, they only marked the people of color by their, well, the whites they just skipped. But they would have made it known on that census who was black on that federal census record. So therefore, that's why you see that gap. And the other thing you can deduce from this is what else you can deduce from this census record. You judge by the number of blacks are there. What else can you tell? Just by the number. Huh? age already. But I'm talking about that few blacks listed on that census page. What does that tell you? They're the only ones there. Okay. But there wasn't very many there. Okay. And you're going to find out through this presentation, my ancestors were the only ones that were there, maybe with another family, and how they rose up. And this is what I'm trying to get across in this presentation. So, this is the last thing I'm going to do, before we go on. In the middle, they also put down what your occupation was. You see at the top, shoemaker? So that person was a shoemaker. We come down, there's a laborer, let's see what else, gunsmith. So they listed your occupation. So as the census years went by, the federal government got more and more sophisticated, adding more information to the federal census records. Okay, this is the black church. I want to apologize because this actually was supposed to be in a multimedia report, but technology, my old computer didn't work right, so I couldn't use a CD. So, all right. This is in Middletown, Connecticut. This is the Cross Street AME, African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. The Cross Street Church was among the first the black church in Middletown, Connecticut. In 1828, the first meetings were held in my ancestors' house, George and Asa Jeffrey. Okay, they held the first church meeting at their house. In 1830, the church was located on High Street. Later moved to Cross West of Vine. Now what you see right here, this picture at the bottom, this is known as the Triangle, okay? This is where all the black people, the community of black people lived in Connecticut and Middletown at that time in the 1830s. The church also became known as the Freedom Church. It was a stop on the Underground Railroad. Matter of fact, since it was such a small black population in Middletown, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather met there. You find a lot of relationships between people who lived in they called it the Triangle at that time. My family left Middletown about the late 1830s. But see, several other branches of the Jeffrey family went to Western New York, Rochester, which we'll talk about later, and some stayed right there in the area. But there was the family split, but it was a large family, and they went to different patterns. My family came west to where I am today, but we started out there. We'll come to that later. Okay, the Reverend Amos Beeman of Middletown, Connecticut. In 1838, by the way, he was the second pastor of the AME Church. Beeman moved to New Haven because of death threats on his life while receiving private tutoring at Wesleyan University from a student. Those students who threatened him, they were called the Band of 12, okay? And they wrote a letter to him. And they told him, you better leave or else. So he left and went to New Haven. Beeman organized abolitionist and political conventions throughout the state of Connecticut. Clarissa Beeman, the wife of Reverend Beeman, was the founder of the Colored Female Anti-Slavery Society in 1834. Beeman married one of the Jeffrey girls also. So the Jeffrey family and the Beeman family intermarried. The Temple Street Church, that's where Beeman presided when he went to New Haven. Now remember, these are free blacks. Slavery this part of the family, there was no slavery. Okay. This is the Connecticut marriages from 1750 to 1860. This is another tool we use in genealogy to do research. Marriage certificates, death records, those kind of vital records we research. Now you probably can't see it. Okay, Charles A. Jeffrey, which is my second great-grandfather, married Elizabeth Cam. I think I told you guys that earlier. Now this is the church record. This is what was in the record book of the church. Oh, it's up here. Okay, you can see at the top line, it says Jeffrey. And what that says there, he married my great-grandmother, second great-grandmother, Elizabeth Cam Jeffrey, in New Haven, October 23rd, 1850. What you see here is the actual marriage certificate, and where I got this from, this is another part of genealogical research. This came from his pension file. My ancestors served during the Civil War, and if you as a widower, wanted to claim his pension, you had to prove that you were married to her. So what they do was they had to write to the National Archives. I got his military file and his pension file. And in that pension file was this copy of his marriage certificate. The same thing I just told you guys. They were married in 1850. Now, during the Civil War, there were 13 Jeffrey family members who served during the Civil War, okay? I have all 13 of their pension files from the National Archives in D.C. He served in the 19th Wisconsin. They served in the 11th Minnesota, the 7th Minnesota, the 29th Connecticut, the 11th Heavy Artillery of Rhode Island. So in all, it was 13 that served. And that's the second presentation that I give just on the Civil War. Okay. So, this is Asa again. Okay, Asa married New Haven, March 25th, 1832, of Middletown, married Louis Trenton of New Haven. People of color. They didn't even put that in the record, okay? Now, here's the thing. I didn't know who Louis Trenton was. It took me, matter of fact, 3 months ago who I found out who she was. Louis Trenton was, Lois. Lois Trenton was the last slave to be sold in New Haven, Connecticut. He married her, but they only stayed married a short time. Okay, they also had a child, unbaptized infant of Asa and Lois, 1837. That's, you can see right there, second from the bottom, it says infant. The baby died. Now, this is what I found. The death of Lois was the last slave in New Haven in the city at 142 Star Street. Sunday evening occurred the death of Miss Lois Trenton, in whom some historical interest, inasmuch as she was the last slave sold in New Haven, if not in Connecticut. The sale occurred on the 8th of March, 1825. Mrs. Trenton always attended the Trinity Church up to the time that her health had been so poor to prevent. Aunt Louis was purchased by Anthony P. Sanford for $600. He then set her free, and the deed of sales and the papers of manumission. Mrs. Trenton was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia in 1799, but had lived since in 1825 in New Haven. This was supposed to have been a multimedia slide with much more information, but like I said, my PowerPoint wouldn't support it. Early documents. Okay. Again, in Connecticut, you could own land and you could get an education, but you couldn't vote. These are the documents that my ancestors held in Connecticut. Asa Jeffrey Sr., who I introduced you to earlier, had 12 documents on file. George had 4, George W. had 7, and Joseph Jeffrey had 15. Now, what was going on? Why they had so many documents? They were Native Americans, okay? So when the settlers came in, when the English came in, they had to subdivide their land and sell in order for them to survive. That was the main reason for the migration out, because they were being squeezed. Okay, this is the earliest document I have of George Jeffrey. This is dated 1751 in the colony of Connecticut. All right, Harold Brooks, this is interesting. This is the land document of Joseph Jeffrey. Joseph Jeffrey was one of my ancestors. He owned a slave by the name of Harold Brooks. Now, slaves were considered property. So if you ever do slave genealogy, you're going to find anything on them in the land document because they were considered property. So it was written there. All right, so this guy Joseph, my ancestor, owned this slave named Herod Brooks. You can see it right here in the middle, but I got it typed out so you can really see what it says in the next slide. Whereas Joseph Jeffrey of Lyme hath applied to the subscribers, stating that he hath a slave for life, a mulatto man named Herod Brooks, between 25 and 45 years of age, and in good life. The said Joseph further states he wishes to emancipate his said slave in such a manner to be clear of future support of his said slave as provided by law in such cases. And the said Herod, having personally appeared and desired to be made free, and the subscribers, having inquired in the premises, do certify that the said Herod is between the ages of 25 and 45 years and is healthy. Now here comes the twist. It doesn't say in the land document how he acquired Herod or why he was manumitting Herod. Well, come to find out, the reason why Herod married his sister Abigail. So what I surmise is that he bought Herod from a guy, manumitted him, and she turned around and married his sister. And I'm going to show you the documentation. Okay, you can see right there. You see Abigail Jeffrey, right there, children of George Jeffrey Jr. Look at Abigail. She married Herod Brooks. So that's my documentation to back that claim. So when you do your research, there's no telling what you're going to find in your family history. And that was a surprise. Okay, George Jeffrey Jr. George Jeffrey was the Barack Obama of his time. He was only a barber. He had the gift of gab. In the book I write about George, they said you never saw George anywhere without his cane or his umbrella. So what does that tell you? Okay, George S. Jeffrey as a glance. In 1851, he became a successful barber for many years. He was elected of the president of the Lincoln Club. Now, Lincoln was the rock star of politics during those days. In his honor, they formed this club called the Lincoln Clubs, which every year on his birthday, they had a banquet. He served as state doorkeeper for the Connecticut State Legislature from 1881 to 1887. He attended the 1880 Republican Presidential Convention in Chicago for the purposes of protesting to the delegates of color against the nomination of Ulysses S. Grant. Okay, in 1887, he went before the Insurance Committee at the state legislature and successfully saw the passage of the bill to prevent the discrimination of people of African descent in Connecticut by life insurance companies. Because of his Native American heritage, he was a member of the Montauk Council of Administration that was engaged in the lawsuit with the Long Island Railroad for the recovery of Montauk Point. He was also well known in Meriden for his debating skills. He played Othello and received rave reviews. He also served as a county and city juror for over 30 years. Now, even though he was a juror, he did not have the right to franchise. Okay. He also represented himself after being arrested and was quoted in the local newspapers calling the judgment for public reaction and his legal fees reparations.
Jeffrey's pilgrimage. Who furnished the money? Was it Harvey Rogers Jr.? Before leaving Meriden for Chicago, armed with a formidable-looking document, which he called a protest against Grant, George Jeffrey, a retired colored barber, rambled about among the businessmen of Meriden, reading his protest and telling how he intended to rise in the Republican convention and with all the dramatic power at his command, astonished the delegates by the announcement that the Republican colored voters of Connecticut, sir, are not in favor of Grant for a third term. Mr. Jeffrey is so eccentric, so conceited, and egotistical that nothing he might do would astonish Meriden people that much. But one certainly did wonder where he got the money to pay his fare to Chicago and back. Mr. Jeffrey has not been engaged in active business lately, and to quote his own words, he is not financially at the top of the heap. New Haven Union. Logan and Grant went out for a fight. Sherman and Blaine went out to slam. Jeffrey sailed in to see the big sight. With my protest, said he, I'll flam.
Okay. Which, oh, she goes, all right. Well, I thought she was gonna break for a minute, but she didn't, she's. Here she comes, here she comes. Here comes Pamela.
Thank you, Brother Jeffries. We're going to continue on with that presentation. But we are honored to have our U.S. Congressman, Raja Krishnamurthy, who has stopped by to give us his regards and his greeting. And I know he has a very busy schedule today, and that he carved out a few minutes for us. We're really grateful to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, U.S. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy. Yes, all the time.
Well, Herb, thank you so much. I'm sorry I have to. I'm running. I'm speaking and running, but I'm going to the airport to catch a flight back to Washington. But I wanted to make sure that I stopped by. Doesn't he look like $1 billion, this guy, Herb, today? I mean, that shirt is just amazing. All of you look so lovely. And Mr. Jeffries, I was able to listen to some of your talk, and thank you so much for coming to our community and discussing George Jeffrey. Look, I think that we're all here for one reason, that's to celebrate Black history, but more than that, to celebrate American history as well. And to make sure that we always remember the full diversity of our communities and how we want to lift everyone up, everyone up. And that's why I love Black History Month, because this is the time when we not only get to learn about African Americans, but we also learn about each other. And we also learn about the best and sometimes the parts that we don't want to repeat. And this is something that I take very closely with me every day to Washington. I just want to say one final thing, which is as we think about Black History Month this year, let us also remember obviously how far we've come, but how much more we have to do. So we have to recommit ourselves every week and every month to the principles that we hold up in this month. And that's what I want to do when I go back to Washington as well. In the meantime, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for taking precious time out of your busy schedules. I see my representative, Michelle Mussman, my favorite representative, my commissioner, Mr. Morrison. I see, of course, trustees from Hanover Park. I see a judge. Where's the judge? Did she leave? I think she walked out as I was coming in. Coincidence? I'm not sure. But the porters, can you give them a round of applause? I love these guys. I love these people. They are really, a smile comes to my face every time I think of them and their family and what they've done for the community and what all of you do for ours as well. So thank you so much, and happy Black History Month, and God bless. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy.
I want a shirt like this when I grow up.
We got it from the Mandela store in South Africa.
So beautiful.
Mandela shirt.
So beautiful. Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All righty. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, and we'll return you now to our esteemed speaker. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Thank you for indulging us.
No problem. Okay. We left off with George Jeffrey. Now, that bill that he represented, he was instrumental in having a bill passed in front of the Connecticut State Legislature about discrimination of policies of people of color. So, this is the actual speech that he made in the front of the state legislature in Connecticut.
Mr. President and gentlemen of the committee, I deem it to be exceedingly
Remember, he was a barber.
that any class of citizens should be compelled to ask protection from the state of Connecticut against the incivility and injustice of any corporation or set of men doing business under its authority and the sanction of its laws. It is unfortunate that conditions exist which necessitates this action, which will stand by the wayside of history to mark the progress of Connecticut and the amenities of that civil law, which should distinguish our Christian civilization. It is indeed unfortunate for me and those men whom I here represent to be compelled to stand in the shadow of this unjust discrimination, made more poignant and galling in its refined cruelty by the azure light of a higher education and the full fruition of American citizenship. Who are these men that must wear this iron in their hearts, who must bear this unjust prescription? They are men whose ancestors have enriched the soil of Connecticut for more than 200 years, men whose ancestors fought in the War of the Revolution for independence, men who were represented by more than 2,000 men for suppression of the slaveholders' rebellion, men whose fathers, brothers, and sons died that the nation might live, men who were born and nurtured in the atmosphere of New England from generation to generation and have become the outgrowth of your institutions, who divide their love and allegiance neither by the green flag of Ireland or the double-headed eagle of Germany or any other foreign power or potentate, while every fiber of their manhood, every pulsation of their hearts beat in unison with the sentiments and principles which are symbolized by the stars and stripes which now float over your capital. Such are the men, Mr. President and gentlemen of the committee, who ask the favorable consideration of the bill which is before you. And now, Mr. President and gentlemen of the committee, I ask your attention to another phase of this question. The insurance interests of this state have created a literature of its own, together with its agents, which have been thrown out everywhere as thick as autumn leaves in Alhambra, and with commendable enterprise they have exhausted every avenue of human ingenuity to coin new arguments and new illustrations to enforce upon the people the necessity and desirability of life insurance, until they have created a sentiment which looks upon a man as little less than criminal who does not avail himself in some degree of the opportunities offered to protect his wife and little ones from the gaunt wolf of poverty at the moment of his decease. In fact, they have engrafted it into our civilization. In obedience to this education, I have for nearly a quarter of a century carried a policy in the Aetna that I might not be laid in a pauper's grave. And now, Mr. President, paradoxical as it may seem, my children, whom I am trying to educate, in whom I am trying to inculcate this cardinal American doctrine that thrift and industry, virtue and intelligence were the American passport to the respect of their fellow citizens, that there was nothing between them and the attainment of the highest honors but their own innate ability, genius, and worth, that American citizenship had been in its possibilities greater than a king. The life insurance companies of this state, after having incorporated their economic system into our civilization, say to them, with brazen effrontery and with a wanton disregard of the feelings of those they have educated, that its privileges, its benefits, and its blessings were not for them, that health, wealth, strength, virtue, intelligence, ancestral longevity count for nothing, and they are spurned like a leopard and branded with their withering curse. Oh, picture it. Think of it, Christian men. Take it home to yourselves and apply it, if you can, to your own children. It is obviously repressing and demoralizing and ill-becoming the civil policy of a Christian state. Therefore, we ask you, as an integral part of the body politic, to give us this bill, in the interest of a harmonious whole, that our children may not be impeded in the development of those forces, which shall add strength and honor and glory to the Commonwealth. It may be said that the mortality among the colored population of the state is greater than the white, which I do not believe, but for the purpose of this hearing will not deny. I am aware, Mr. President, that an abnormal condition among the freed men brought about by the exigencies of war revolutionizing the social and economic conditions, throwing 4 millions of men on their own resources without enough to cover their nakedness, in a land already impoverished by a bitter enmity of the master class, brought about a reign of want and suffering, murder and crime, which has no parallel in the history of the civilized world. God only knows the horrors of that carnival of death, which has followed it in train. It is also true that the mortality increased among the freedmen. But as to the normal condition of Connecticut, this I do know, that my great-grandmother lived to be 106 years, while my grandparents on either side have lived their 80 years and 10, while my grandfather has brothers still living, and I have myself the unusual complement of uncles and aunts, yet I am far from young. While in the town where I was born, and where the distinguished senator who presides over this honorable committee now resides, can bear me witness that there are more old people among the colored population, according to their number, than any other class in it. While in the town where I now reside, there have not been 3 adult deaths in 20 years. But this unnecessary, as the bill under consideration only asks that they, the colored people, be admitted on the same general condition of health and hope of longevity with their pale brothers, which shall have been ascertained by some regular examining physician of such companies. The justice of this position would seem to me to be self-evident, unless we question the honesty and ability of that ancient and honorable profession, which stands second to none in its beneficent relations to our civilization, save it be those priestly offices which offer us the consolations of him who came to save and to bless those who were lost. Surely the practical experience of 200 years has demonstrated that we are subjected to the same diseases and yield to the same treatment as the Anglo-Saxon, that our stomachs are as sensitive to ipecac and lobelia and yields as readily to salts and senna, and after an extended inquiry, I have found no physician who does not laugh to scorn the idea that he cannot detect disease in me as readily as in the distinguished gentlemen who make up this honorable committee. Every city and town in the state has living witnesses in the persons of colored men and women who have lived out their 80 years against this infamous, wicked, and atrocious dogma, that a drop of Negro blood was a vital poison, and the color of his skin is a prima facie evidence of inherent disease and early death. Massachusetts has already passed this bill, time-honored Commonwealth, rich in her immortal names, while she contains the sacred dust of Horace Mann, Garrison, Phillips, and Sumner, God's anointed apostle of civil rights, she stands as a beacon light to guide her New England sisterhood. God grant that the genius of Connecticut, symbolized by the outwing goddess who surmounts the gilded dome of this capital, may stand for that justice and mercy, peace and goodwill of him who stands in the shadow of these stately arches, who is no respecter of persons, but has made of one blood all nations of the earth to serve him. We sincerely trust that this honorable committee may be moved by this divine spirit and gladden the hearts of 12,000 of your humble but loyal constituents, who may rise up to call you blessed while they ever pray. God bless the Commonwealth.
Okay, that was George S. Jeffrey in 1887 in front of the Connecticut State Legislature. Okay, so we're going to have to wrap it up here. Is there any questions before we go? Huh?
That was the barber,
Yeah, that was the barber.
and was he, it sounded like he was trying to say that what they used to discriminate against black folks for life insurance is that one of the reasons because they had a drop, if you had a drop of black blood.
That was part of it. That was part of it. That was part of it. Any questions? No questions? Okay, well, I appreciate it, and thank you for inviting me to speak. Okay.
Let's give another round of applause for Mr. Eric Smith. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. I'm sorry that our time is slipping away from us, so we have to move on with the program. So next I have is a storyteller, Miss Chastity Gunn. And let's give her a round of applause, and she's going to come up.
Do you want to? Yeah, as Chastity is taking her place, I just want to just give you a little background. She's a native of Northwest Alabama. She received her MFA from Hamline University and a BA in journalism from Belmont University. The author of How to Create a World in 2018, her spoken word has been featured in the Bedlam Theater's 10 by 10 Fest and the Elgin Fringe Festival. She's a VANA Summer Workshop participant, and she was awarded a Tech for Justice grant from Teachers Pay Teachers and a Cultural Arts Commission grant from the City of Elgin. Gunn is an English professor at Elgin Community College and the inaugural Poet Laureate of Elgin, Illinois. In 2021, she received an Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellowship. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Chastity Gunn.
Hello. Can you all hear me okay? Yes, okay. So I just want to say thank you to Mr. Porter. Thank you for the Sister Cities Committee for inviting me to be here with you all today. I'm going to share with you all some poems, and I actually wrote a poem just for today's event. Mr. Porter told me that the theme was strength and perseverance, and so I wrote a poem that's not done yet, but I thought I'd share what I have so far. Just the basic title right now is Strength. Now, the quality of being strong. The instance of this kind of strength was seen in the night, when the moon hung low, barely visible against the indigo sky. The coyotes howled, the air thick and muggy, because that's what July in Louisiana is like. The nape of her neck drenched in sweat, she had no time to wipe it away. She wrapped a half loaf of bread, a few pieces of fruit in a rag, and tied them tightly. She held on to the door frame and she looked back at the dirt floor, the windowless sanctuary where every day she had sacrificed her humanity at the altar of oppression. She wanted a new master. She made her way through the untamed forest, stepping over rocks and fallen trees, shivering at the sounds of the wild. Freedom was at least 1,000 miles away, at least 211,000 steps. She prayed the soles of her feet would have the condition of being strong, that they would not give out on her because turning back was not an option. Strength, a word inherited from the Germans, related to the Old High German Stringiga, the base of strength, the base of strong. It is the individual or collective power of resilience, of an individual or unit's power or resilience, as in refusing to ride in the back of the bus or give up their seat on the drive forward. The collective power of sitting at lunch counters, waiting to be asked, what would you like? The collective power of knocking on doors in the Mississippi Delta, registering Black folks to vote. The collective power of marching to Washington and standing in the sea of democracy and demanding that it be parted so Black folks can walk through. Power of resilience, whether physical, mental, or due to the possessions of resources. Capacity for effective action or resistance. The ballot or the bullet, the crown or the crisis. In 1551, T. Wilson said, natural strength is the aptness of nature. In 1560, King James promised strength to those who waited upon the Lord. In 1597, Shakespeare said, if thou hast the strength. In 1737, a London playwright wrote, in some important hour, when all our weaknesses shall be attacked, and all our strength be needful. All our strength be needful when they make us enter through the back door to receive our Academy Award. All our strength be needful when they scowl and spit as we hold our school books and dignity. All our strength be needful when they pull us over for a routine traffic stop. All our strength be needful when the State Board of Education says our history significantly lacks educational value and is contrary to Florida law and does not approve the inclusion of the historical record. Our strength be needful. In 1785, Town and Country magazine said it required an exertion of every kind of strength, mental strength, physical strength, emotional strength, spiritual strength, personal strength, collective strength, as in bodily strength, moral strength, as in strength of character, strength of purpose. The quality or state of being physically strong, physical power or stamina, ability to exert muscular force. When they say, you speak well for a, when they say, can I touch your hair? When they say, show me your credentials. Soundness of body, health, vigor, energy, or capacity for action, fitness. To dribble the ball again, to jump the shot, to throw freely after spending 10 months in a Russian penal colony in Mordovia, a region known for its brutal prison system. The emotional or mental resilience necessary for dealing with difficult or distressing situations. Like a graduate of the Ivy League denied entrance into the tenure club. Superior power exerted for constant compulsion, wrongful force like Emmett Till, 14, George Floyd, 46, Trayvon Martin, 17, Tamir Rice, 12, Sandra Bland, 28, Laquan McDonald, 17, Eric Gardner, 43, Taisha Miller, 19, Dante Wright, 20, Andre Hill, 47, Manuel Ellis, 33, Rashard Brooks, 27, Daniel Prude, 41, Breonna Taylor, 26. The influence or power possessed by a person or organization, people, capacity for producing a result or impact, effectiveness, compelling force, strength. All right, so I'm going to share some poems that I wrote about my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Her name was Ruby, and for me, she was a source of strength and perseverance. She had a high school education, and she had never traveled outside of our small town in northwest Alabama. and she was what was considered the help. She cleaned folks' houses for a living. She was a single mother, but yet she was my biggest supporter, always encouraging me as a writer, always encouraging me in school. And when I was in college, I was the first in my family to go, and I wanted to study abroad to Australia, and it was pretty expensive. But my grandmother was my biggest donor. She came to me one day and she said, "I have something for you." And she pulled out a stack of $50 checks that she had saved for every week that she would go and clean houses. And it was enough for me to travel abroad. So these poems are in honor of her. For Granny. Another Sunday afternoon at Granny's house. Oatmeal pies, cold canned Coke, her swollen ankles wrapped in tan, pointed fingernails, peeled back oranges, pork chops fry, black-eyed peas simmer, sip, savor this meal, this time. Granny still planting flower beds, cleaning houses, saving checks for you. See Australia, a continent her eyes will never behold beyond pictures in the National Geographic. Write the books she wants to read. Tell them about Cherokee people, Trenholm School, demolished to build integration. Tell them to love everyone, always. Return to her orange chair. Sit, lean back, and take your place in the calm. The next poem is called 6 Poems for Ruby. 1. They say diamonds are a girl's best friend, but mine was a ruby. Formed underneath the pressure of the earth, bearing down on its side, the equator's heat radiating through its core, and time spent incubating in darkness and stillness. 2. Petite, brown, and stubborn. This ruby was a rare find. 3. She didn't shine as brightly as other gems. A bit lackluster she was. But if you polished her sides and held her up to the light, you could see your reflection. It was always bright. 4. A loner drawn out by lavish compliments, wooed by pleasant pleasantries, bestowed by men with swift feet and crooked smiles, she danced with them under the moonlight. Supple kisses down her neck, a hand brushing along her thigh. 5. She prayed daylight would grant her a companion and perhaps love, but the sun is never kind. She bore 6 children, lost 2, absent fathers, alone she raised them. 6. It wasn't an easy feat to unearth Ruby, buried underneath layers of dirt and debris. Sometimes the earth's most precious treasures are found amidst a pile of rubble. The next poem is called The Last Supper. Every Sunday we visited Granny. Tiny apartment compact with bags of cloths, treasures pulled from the trash and God knows where else. 1 bedroom covered completely except a tiny bed, neatly made, clean. Long, narrow bathroom, always filled with beauty products, never used, and a tub never sat in. Make your way down the short hallway to the kitchen. Hold your stomach in so you will fit past the plastic bags of magazines tied tightly. What you are walking to may topple over. Turn to your left and enter the kitchen where all things delicious dwell. See the black-eyed peas simmering in a small pot, yellow corn, Granny just seasoned with butter and pepper. Pork chops cooked to a tenderness that only Granny can do. This is the Last Supper, the last one she will cook you before her memory starts to fade and she forgets your name. The ice-cold Coca-Colas she kept for you in the fridge, the Little Debbie oatmeal pies she bought just for you and your brother. Remember these walls. Remember these corners, these piles of her belongings. It is all that is left. All right, my next section of poems is about my father. So I'm a daddy's girl, so I had to do a poem about him. It's called Yellow Kitchen Mornings. It's Thursday morning, and Dad wears invisible apron strings. He dons a white V-neck undershirt, dark gray slacks that have creased sharper than a shark's teeth. He maneuvers around the kitchen as if he's some master chef who works in a Parisian restaurant that overlooks the Eiffel Tower. This he is not. He's a 30-something who works in a plant that processes aluminum. He spreads butter thick like his southern drawl across slices of white bread, places them on a greased cookie sheet, inserts into a 350-degree oven. He grabs the handle of a cast iron skillet and gives it a jiggle, sees the bubbles forming and sentences the eggs to a scrambling, sprinkles pepper on top and scoops them onto paper plates. My little brother and I enter the kitchen backpacked, freshly washed faces and semi-neatly combed hair. White socks rolled to form cuffs, a book in each of our hands. We couldn't bear to put stories in bags with worksheets, pencils, and binders. They must be left out. They must be read. Good morning, Daddy. We sat at the table, waited, opened our books, and let our imagination and vocabulary expand. Throttle out of this world like the rocket we saw at the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center. Dad reaches into the oven with a pot-holded hand and retrieves the golden toast and places them, eggs and grape jelly, on the table. Tell us to put our books away because it was time to eat, and it's ill-mannered to read at the kitchen table. But secretly, I imagined he wanted us to read everywhere, at the table, in the car, in our beds. All right, so the next few poems I'm going to read to you are connected to my heritage as being an Alabama native. And food is a big part, if you haven't caught on to that theme just yet. So I love to eat. I also love to cook. I tend to not cook things from cans or boxes, so I like to make things from scratch. And so I'm going to read to you all a poem. Actually, I'll start with that one. About making Southern biscuits. How to make Southern biscuits. The recipe calls for a 1/3 cup of shortening, but I have other ideas. Southern biscuits must be blessed by butter, not margarine, and definitely not that whipped canola oil that has been dyed yellow. You want your butter to be pure and undefiled. Now, after you have cut your cold, unsalted butter into your flour like breadcrumbs from the Last Supper, add your buttermilk. Just enough for the dough to be a little bit sticky. Remember, you're not baptizing your dough in buttermilk. After you have kneaded the dough with the grooves of your palms, cut out the biscuits. Don't be afraid to make them big and tall. After you do all of that, your hands will be covered in dough. Let it rest there for a minute. It's okay to let a thing hold on to you. Then wash your hands of the sticky matter that clings to the sides of your fingers, clings to the crevices where your fingers and palms become one, clings to fingerprints, the stamp of your unique image. Put the biscuits in the oven and let them rise in the heat like 3 Hebrew boys. Wipe down the counter, tap the base of the jar. Hear the music hollowness makes. It's a hymn that says, every now and again, it's okay to be empty and have space to fill. All right, this poem is called Dixie Stars Fell on Alabama. that twang, that drawl, that slow honey-dipped y'all. Battered in humidity, fried with tradition, smothered in moments your mama may never mention. Give me a side, a rib, a bone. Put it in a dish, a glass, a basket. Wrap it in some foil to take home. Bow your head so you can remember this place where stars were flicked out of heaven. Thousands of luminous bodies shooting across the firmament in every direction. Little wind, no clouds, meteors succeeded each other in quick succession. Only in darkness can light be seen. What was once dirty, defiled is pristine, redeemed. Wash your hands, close the door, come into the room, this room. Fill the space with your lullabies and ditties, scat me around. Make the walls bend weak from your bulging joy. Crack open a window every now and then, then now you'll see where you are is where you were always meant to be. The stars have led you home. Next set I want to read is poems about my mother and sewing. So my mother, like many women of her generation, learned how to sew in school, which I think is something useful to learn how to do, but she did not teach me how to sew. My aunt also sewed, and the women on my father's family were quilters. So I've actually gotten into that practice. I made my first quilt last year for my niece. I thought it was important to continue that family tradition. And so I wrote some poems about sewing and the connection with my mother. So this poem is titled Mother. Mother can make skirts, dresses, and blouses, hem pants, sew on buttons, a gift she sees as common. Mother, why didn't you pass this gift on to me? Child, too busy cooking, cleaning, working, paying bills, and wiping behind ears. Now, as an adult, I tried to learn to stitch. Too far away to be taught in person, she gives lessons over the phone. Baby, you can't do it right until you first do it wrong. If poems became metaphors, here's what they would say. None of my dresses are finished. They are all discarded heaps of fabric across the floor. In the right corner rests a heap of navy silky fabric intended to be a wrap dress that flatters the body with its generous drape. But once the pattern instructions were more like Portuguese and less like English, I abandoned it. In the middle of the room lies a wrinkled mass of teal cotton, bought it on sale for $3 a yard, a steal in these receding times. I'd hoped to sew it into a short-sleeved dress, perfect for family cookouts or walks along a Costa Rican beach. I became afraid to change, presser foot, too precarious for mistakes. Behind the door, a cloud of gold sateen meant to become a gown for a New Year's party. My date called. He had the flu, or at least that's what I think he said. Wish I had been confident enough to go alone. Wish I didn't have so much in common with these barely started, hardly finished dresses. Wish I had the ability to be consistent. Wish I had the ability to finish. Wish I was a complete thing. All right, this poem is called Sois Speaks in Abecedarian for the Sake of a Common Knowledge. Alterations of body, bolting, bobbin, binding, commercial pattern designed to fit a natural body. Dart, drape, dress, all you want. Empire bodice may only allow 3 inches ease. You want ease, empire, elastic, ability to stretch and return to its original shape with ease, fit with ease. Figure, we are gathered here today. Tomorrow is not promised. Face the interfacing of your life. You know what I mean. Iron on glimmer and hope, interline it with promises. Jersey knit, lining the lines, markings mark the way out of the woods. Measurements of escape, muslin for mistakes. Notches show who has been here. Press cloth until it looks like truth. Pin lies in place so they can't move around anymore. Pleat it, pocket, press it in. Quit quilting right sides together, ready to wear the emperor's new clothes. Sequins, satin, silk, tailor's chalk, underlining the lines beneath velvet Velcro waistband. X out of your zipper. You good? Thank you.
Can we just have another round of applause? First of all, for Mr. Eric Jeffries, who, I'm sorry, that's not Eric Smith. I've been hearing Jeffries for 2 hours, so it's emblazoned in my brain. But for his fantastic presentation, thank you, sir. You know, what you did for many of us who do not have the wherewithal to do that type of research, we only wish we knew that type of information about our ancestral histories. So to hear that you were able to do that and to uncover that type of information is inspirational and very motivational to me, and I'm sure to many others, because we don't have that advantage or the skill set that you possess, and the patience, and the patience to do that. And is that right? You're available to do those type of searches?
The only thing I do is I do workshops on how to do those.
Okay, all righty. Okay. Yeah, and let's have another round of applause for our poet laureate, Ms. Chastity Gunn. Again, history being made in that she is the first poet laureate of Elgin, and she's also a proud African-American woman. But Elgin has a very well-educated community, a lot of professors and poets and literates, you know, live in that community. And for her to receive that honor, we're just so proud of you at this young age to have achieved that type of recognition. And we know that your career is going to continue to skyrocket. So thank you for blessing us with your presence and with your wonderful poems. It was really, really an honor to have you here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, another hand for Ms. Chastity Gunn. Okay, and I think our chairperson has some information now for us as we come to the close of our program.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Porter. All right, we're at the part of our program where we give out gifts to our libraries and our librarians, and also our raffle drawing for the door prizes. So I would like to start first with our branch manager of the Hanover Park Library, Gail Tobin. Here, not yet, that's not yet. Here, hold on to those. So this one here. So this is the gift, Gail. This comes from this Sister Cities Committee. So we have the 1619 project here. You're so welcome. Okay.
The three of us to do that. Can someone get a camera and
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. You're so welcome. All right, our second gift goes to Annie Miskowicz. Is she here? From the Schaumburg Library? Annie. Oh, okay.
you're from Poplar Creek, though. Yeah, come on.
Okay, all right. Her name is on our list here, so. And your name is? My name is Claudia. Claudia. Okay, Claudia, accepting our gift here for Annie.
For the library.
It's for the library. You're welcome. And it's,
A copy of Cass by Isabel Wilkerson.
here, we'll get a picture of you in the book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Now it's time for our raffle. We have 4 drawings. And here, we're going to ask the youngest person in here to draw, please. Volunteering your service. Okay. All right. And the first number?
081548, or, yeah.
Here, you just hand it to me and I'll read it. It's 081548. Oh,
right.
wonderful. Look at there. All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And you can take either one. I forgot where I put that man's one at. Okay. There you go. All right. Our second, I'll come around. Here you go. Draw again. Okay, and that number is 545. Last digits 545. No, 545? Okay. Here, let's pull another one. 543. All right, we have a winner over there. There you go. Yep, I sure do. I trust you. Thank you. All right, Herb, you draw one. 549. Oh, our trustee Kemper. Nice. You're welcome. Oh, let's get a photo of him.
Did we get a picture of the last two? I don't think we did.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. And our last but not least, stir it up. 564. Oh, look at here. Great. And we have here an authentic picture with the certification of authenticity.
Certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, we trust you. And it's inside, and it's a picture of.
By one of our local artists, and it's got a certificate of authenticity on it.
Thanks. All right, guys, that's all for the drawing. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I really appreciate you supporting us in this event here. We'll have one for sure next year as well with different topics, so we appreciate you. Also, I want to mention that over in the corner there, we have the NAACP Health Committee over there. If you want to do any of the health screenings over there, that's available for you. Then anyone that's interested in becoming a member of the Sister Cities Committee, we are certainly recruiting good people. You can find the application on our website, and we also out front have physical hard copy applications for you. Okay? All right, I think that, Herb?
Thank you. Let's give another round of applause to our wonderful chairperson, Ms. Pamela Fowler. And to close us out, I'd like to ask, since she stuck around to the very end as a true trooper, our Illinois State Representative, Michelle Musk, would you come and give us closing words and send us out the door, please? Well, you know how I do.
I guess so. I feel undeserving of this, but thank you. That is very kind. I am very glad that we live in communities that take the time to put together cultural commissions, that take the time to do these necessary things, that bond our residents together, and that educate them and lift them up. And I was very grateful that I was here today. I always say, I wish more people were here. I wish more people realized the gems that they had in their communities and took advantage of them. We will certainly work harder to make sure that there are more people in our room celebrating with us next year. This is too good to be missed. Thank you to all the speakers who came and shared their talents. Greatly enjoyed the poetry. Big fan of that kind of thing. I thank all of you. I thank you for all of your hard work. I look forward to next year. And I encourage you to continue out the month and continue learning about this great history.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Good evening. I think there might still be some snacks on the table. Make sure you stop by the health table. There are giveaways and a lot of useful information. Oh, just wait, there's a drawing.
Okay, all right.
We got 3 more gifts. So if you hold on, you still might be a winner.
3 more. Okay.
539.
539.
If you go to the health table, if you go to the NAACP health table, they have a gift for you, 539.
Do we have okay, great. We have a winner over there. Okay, the next one.
566.
566. That's you?
566. 539 if you see Margaret in the red. Okay, no. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, you go with her in the red.
And 546. Okay, all righty. If you'll follow Margaret in the red, she has a gift for you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you, everyone.